Who killed Jesus? This is a little bit of a basic topic, but believe it or not, this is going to introduce us to a lot of truth later with what happened to the lost 10 tribes of Israel, because this will tie into it in a few different ways. And it will also show you why there's been a lot of what I think is misdirected hate over the years. All right, so who killed Jesus? That's the question in this video. Now, a lot of people think it was the Jews who killed Jesus. He's the one that turned them over to the Romans to have them executed. Now, I'm going to assume that you don't necessarily know the story. Jesus went back and forth. The religious leaders are the ones who had Jesus arrested and by the Romans because they accused him of blasphemy, which was not against Roman law. And at the time, Judea, the Jews were actually operating sort of like as a separate state under Rome. They were under Rome, but they were still allowed to have their temple and have their own laws as far as religious laws and things like that, which was pretty unique in the Roman Empire, but they had that privilege. So the judicial system was kind of funny there. The Jews didn't have the authority to carry out killings themselves, but they could accuse someone, show the proof to, in this case, at this time it was Pontius Pilate, who was the governor of that area of the world in the Roman Empire at the time. And they could have him, hopefully, if this is what they wanted, have somebody crucified or punished for whatever crime. So the question is, was it the Jews who killed Jesus? Because it was the Jews who had him arrested and accused, and they were the ones probably shouting. In fact, we know they were ones shouting when they were trying to decide between Jesus and a convicted murderer, Barabbas, who to kill, and they yelled out, Jesus, crucify him. Other people say it was the Romans who killed Jesus, or a combination of the Jews and the Romans, because the Romans actually were the ones that nailed him to the cross, put him in the ground, and did all that kind of thing. And they're the ones that actually let it happen. So was it the Romans' fault, let's say, or did the Romans kill Jesus? All right, here's an interesting concept. What if it was neither one, neither the Jews or the Romans? Well, most people would say that's not even a possibility because you only have these two here. We're going to find out this is the answer. Surprise, surprise. Let's start taking a look at it. Okay, let's take a look at a little bit of history first to see who were the Jews that they are talking about. Now, specifically, the way it worked in Israel, the one tribe, the tribe of Levi, they ended up being the religious leaders. They were the ones that were in the Sanhedrin, for example. They were the ones of religious authority in the land. And let's see how it all began. Back in the book of Exodus 40, verses 12 to 15, and I'm just going to read it. Then you shall bring Aaron, that is the person who started the Levites, and then, because he was from the tribe of Levi, and you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, which is where God had his presence before the temple, and wash them with water. These given instructions on how to prepare priests to serve God. You shall put the holy garments on Aaron and anoint him and consecrate him. Now, consecrate's important. Consecrate means to set apart for a holy purpose. All right. Consecrate him that he may minister to me, God, as priests. And you shall bring his sons and clothe them with tunics. So the sons would learn by observing the father. You shall anoint them as you anointed their father, that they may minister to me as priests. For their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout all their generations. Now, this is a good place to introduce terms like this, everlasting priesthood. The Levite priesthood is gone today, and yet God says it's an everlasting one. In the New Testament, we are told that the priesthood of the Levites is gone, and it's now called the priesthood of Melchizedek, which Jesus took over. He's the high priest. It's no longer of Levi. So this word everlasting here, okay, like everlasting punishment, a little hint how this comes up later and in other places, is misunderstood. This means everlasting, not forever, but lasting only into certain qualifications or generations or certain time periods come to an end. It really means it lasts until the end of an age or a dispensation. Now we have something interesting. In the New Testament, we have Jesus here going, in front of this happens a lot. There's a lot of confrontations between Jesus and the Pharisees. And the Levites and whatever, the scribes and the Sadducees and what have you. I'm just going to say the Sanhedrin as a whole, them all together. Now, remember, in the Old Testament, they said they are set apart as holy, for holy purposes to God, to minister unto Him. And yet, look what Jesus says to the exact same supposed people. You are of your father, the devil. Now, if God set them up, they shouldn't be of their father, the devil. That would be if the devil set them up, correct? You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth. Remember that. I don't know if you know it. Who was the first murderer? That's a hint. He was a murderer from the beginning. So think about the beginning murder, the first one ever, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it. This is a very harsh accusation to people who were highly regarded at the time. Matthew 3:7. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his baptism, he said to them, brood of vipers. All right, vipers are snakes, the same kind of term that is given to Lucifer, Satan, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come. So, in any case, you see a big difference how God looks at the exact same people. But as we're going to see, the reason is they're not the exact same people. Now, some of the sources for what I'm about to say is extra biblical outside the Bible, and some of it is in the Bible. The Bible verifies the extra biblical sources. Judah, remember that the southern tribe of Israel consisted of Judah and the Levites. They were infiltrated by the Canaanites. And this started in Joshua's times, okay? You can read about them. They carried the wood and the water to the building of the tabernacle and building different buildings and things like that. They carried the wood and the water. So what it was is you can read and find out that it was Canaanite people. They came to Joshua. Joshua allowed them to work with them. They weren't exactly slaves, but you would say they were the low wage earners on the totem pole. And the problem here was they were not of any of the tribes of Israel. They were Canaanites. Joshua actually should not have let them in. Okay? Now, you can pick up more of this in Nehemiah and other books. I believe Chronicles or Second Chronicles is a good place to look. There's one other book that escapes my memory right now, but Nehemiah carries on this and shows you how they started infiltrating in even more. And as time went by, these Canaanites started getting higher and higher positions within the community. All right? Now, these Nehemiah and other books show how the Levites eventually were taken over by the Canaanites. The Canaanites actually worked their way all the way to the top, kicked out the tribe of Aaron, and they became the religious leaders. All right. Now, there's people that come up with different time periods when this happened, but they were all before Christ. All right. Now, I have a source here, BibleBelievers.org. Let me say up front, I have no clue what these people believe in. However, from books and things that I have and research I've done, they've said it pretty succinctly here, and I found it on the internet rather fast. So even though these people might believe in a butterfly as their god, they've got this right, and I want to read it to you. Okay? Edom is physical serpent's seed. They are the Canaanites who established Carthage, the Carthaginians. Have you ever heard of them? They established Carthage, which was defeated in 146 BC by Rome. Remember, Rome was in charge of Judea when Christ was there. Unchallenged ruler of the Mediterranean. Calling themselves Jews, Remember in Revelation we have this saying, those who call themselves Jews and are not, those I hate. Now we can see Jesus, why he was so anti the Jews of the time, so to speak, the Levites, the religious leaders. All right, many of these people migrated to Spain, France, Italy, Macedonia, the Balkans, and Portugal, where they were known as Sephardim. Okay? They called themselves Jews, but they settled all around the Mediterranean, as you can see here. Okay? John, I think that's pronounced Hyrcanus, John Hyrcanus of the Hasmonean family was the Jewish high priest. And although he refused the title of king, he ruled Judah from 135 to 104 BC. Recapturing much of the original territory of Judah, he conquered the Edomites, whom he forcibly converted to Judaism. Thus, by the time of Christ, most Judeans were Edomites. Most of the people in Judea weren't even Jews. They were Edomites, the majority of the people. Judah was independent of Rome throughout John's reign. And this is what I was talking about before. Israel was given that one special dispensation, so to speak, to where they were allowed to continue their own sort of laws and things like that within the Roman Empire, as long as it didn't conflict with the same. So who killed Jesus? Neither. It was Canaanites who had infiltrated in. And now we know a couple things. Think about what this error has caused over the years. There has been anti-Semitism towards the Jews because they killed Jesus. All right, I'm just going to tell you how a lot of people feel. There's other people that feel that it was Romans, so they had the hatred for the Romans for doing this. Okay, I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine that Messianic Jews would have problems with the Romans because they believe the Romans killed the Messiah. The truth is, neither one did. All right. Now, I'm sure there were some actual legitimate Jews involved, but for the most part, they were of the tribes of Canaan. They were from Canaan, which were never Jews, never of the same bloodline. They infiltrated in. They were the first set of those who said they were Jews but were not. In this later day, we have the same group of people, and the way you can tell them from actual Jews is they are the Zionist Jews. All right, let me show you something actually real fast. I wasn't going to do that in this video. Let me do it. Okay, I wanted to show you this real fast. Here's the American flag, of course, but I wanted to show you the Jewish flag. All right, the one that flies over Israel. You have the Star of David. Most people know about that. And then they have a blue stripe at the bottom and the blue stripe at the top. And I believe the blue is supposed to signify the tribe of Judah. Okay. Okay, here we have the Star of David over here on the right by itself, not on a flag. And over here on the left, we have what's called the menorah, the 7 candles. All right. Throughout all of the history of Israel, this was the national symbol of Israel, the menorah. The Israeli flag should have this on it, not this. This is a pagan symbol, which was made up by other people who in no way, shape, or form were either of the tribes of Israel or of Judah. Okay? This is a mark of Zionism, and we're going to get into another short video, much shorter than this, I think, to explain that. Those are, for the most part, people who are in charge in Israel today. If you want to pray for Israel, pray that the Zionists get out and the true Israelites are allowed to come back in. But that isn't going to happen until Zionism is defeated. All right, so that's the end of this video here. Hopefully you can see that knowing where people come from is an important thing in the Bible, and why when we get into the lost 10 tribes, why that is important as well. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye. Oh, don't forget, you can reach me at rich@nofakereligion.com. Oh, that's wrong. nofakereligion at gmail.com. nofakereligion@gmail.com. Thank you.